And we are live coming to you from the dirty South Winston-Salem. Hope everybody's doing well on this first week of November, starting the holiday season. Uh, Clocks turned back an hour, darker earlier, that type of thing. That got me yesterday. To tell you the truth, I woke up at 5:30, thinking it was 5:30. It was actually 4:30. I got up, did not know. Uh, that's what I'm telling you right now, Carlisle. I I had a lot of stuff to do, include running to work and things like that. I didn't have to really work. I just had to do a couple of things, and they paid me for a couple hours just to come in and do about 5 minutes of literal work. And it just kind of hit me last night, just knocked me off my feet a little bit. And, I have the bees. I do battle depression. I have different things going on in my personal life that sometimes just knocks me down a little bit. And sorry about that. Just wasn't feeling 100%. Went to bed last night. So just a couple of things, reasons why yesterday didn't work for me. But here we are. And I also want to mention I did get my cards back from CGC. So I need to take one part of my rant back that it took so long. Actually, it wasn't, hey, what's up, Reese? It wasn't as bad as I initially thought, but the part of the rant where they just don't communicate is where I'm at. SGC still communicates best out of all of them. They're very personable. I think CGC needs to get better with that, but I do want to make sure, the timing. They put it on a different page. I didn't see the link. It's Mike had to send me while I was talking how to get to the link. They didn't send me any email saying they received the package. And, with all the weather we were having and, you send in bulk. A lot of times you're sending in friend stuff. And, it was just a little upsetting. Again, I'm not feeling the best right now. Fall is not a good time of year for me. I am a very summer person. I get the downies, the blues, whatever emo Scott comes out, however you want to talk about it. And it's gotten worse since the COVID year. So it's just something I have to deal with, and it happens every year. I change a season, and just always knocks me down a little bit. But I do. Let me just take a second. If you do have somebody like me has depression, anxiety, seek help. I medicate. Doctor's medication. And I've done a lot better. I used to have some anger issues as well. And I'm very much more laid back, and I'm happier for that. So what's up, Amari? But that's enough about me. We're not here to talk about that. I just wanted my PSA for the day. The more you know, for a minute, but, I did win both of my fantasy league football games this week, so that was good. But I haven't bought anything. Mike hit me up wanting, making sure I was still not buying anything, which I appreciate. He wanted me to have, take a look at some Pete's and other things that he got. I said, nope. Just taking a couple. I want to appreciate what I have. And also you see I got a blank spot here behind me that I used to not have. Right? It's hard to see with my big butt in front of it. But I'm redoing my apartment. And that's part of my hobby as well. And I don't want to add while I'm doing that. And I just want to enjoy. I like to, as you can see, display my stuff. When you don't, you guys that are here, I know, Carlisle and Reese, and we are on the collector side. We don't have all the money in the world, right? I know right now my buddy Carlos is talking to Brian that used to work own Leaf about the Wagner story that they had last week, having a little debate or something. I don't really understand what's going on with that, but they're talking about something that 99.99% of us don't care about because it's just something that the Hornets Wagner T206 is not going to be something we ever can even dream about. Much less, consider. So that we know our realm, we know where we're at, and and stay in our lane and save up. We get a little bit more money, and might want to save up. And that's another thing. I want to see how much I can save over these 2 months and maybe get myself because I told my family this is the second year, do not get me anything. I feel bad. Times are tough. I think it's stupid when you get to older age people with no kids like me. I'm single with no kids. Everybody's going to give me gift cards. I'm going to give them gift cards. We're just exchanging money back and forth. It's not smart. I know you love me. I love them. Let's just eat dinner, high five, and hug, and do it again at another, event. I don't want, that's just how I am for holidays. I like all the festivities without the gifting. I've been like that for a long, long time. So, that's kind of how I am with that. But anyway, I just kind of trying to save up just to see, if I could get me a banger. I've been watching some 101 Pete Alonso's. I don't have one in my collection. I would like to have one just to have a 101, but I'm not going to pay a ransom for it. I'm having fun trying to wait to see where Pete's going to. I'm not going to stop collecting him because he's still one of my favorite players. So, when it comes to that too, I just always like to bring it up, when a player gets traded or looking to get traded or going to another team, Battery with the Braves, Reese with, I don't know who else is on here watching. Amari, I don't know who your favorite team is, but, your player or somebody you're collecting goes to another team. Do you stop collecting to see what happens? Or, I don't know what I'm going to do with Pete. I have a very substantial collection. That's why I've kind of slid over back to my Gary Carters and David Wright stuff. Because I know they're done. David Wright, both one team. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one. But yeah, I really, I tell you what, have you seen the Dale Murphy doodle? Yes. Oh, he did it for you? Wow. I have not. I saw the ending. I didn't know he made it for you. Did you see the Gary Carter one he did last week? He hadn't said who that one was for. He didn't say who asked for it. That was awesome. Thank you, Hodges. How you doing tonight? Scott is amazing. I did buy his card of the Gary Carter card and the Yogi Berra card doodle. Is the Dale Murphy going to be a card as well? Because I might go in there and get that one. I would love to do just a presentation of Scott's cards. I have quite a bit now. He's amazing. He's a great talent. I'm glad to call him a friend, a superstar. to know him. I really think there's some big things coming for him. I really, really do. Um, Braves fan just sold one of my Freeman autos with him in the Dodgers uniform, conflicted, but a good price for a non-RC. Yeah, and man, Freeman, geez, that Bravo World Series. Yeah, Reese, he is. He's one of the good ones. I mean, I'm glad in the community that I surround myself with. I think I've really got it down to a very good group of people. Of course, I don't talk to them much. Don, I don't talk to them as much as I used to, or the guys in Florida, but I still call them friends. I know I can reach out and talk to them anytime I want to, and vice versa. Scott, they're all in my Rolodex. Uh, it's just fun, and you see them, we light up, we man hug when you see each other, and I love supporting talent. I need to get Victor's book. I think that's something that's going to be on my list this week as well. I don't know if anybody else has got it. I don't really want to hear about what people really think about it. I just want to support Victor. And speaking of that, I don't know if y'all seen his video this weekend, Sunday, but I'm glad he's joined our cause, the hobby cause, calling out some people with their dumbness on Wimby and some other cards. That this hobby is not about money. It's about collecting, and the business part of it's really taken over. Kind of talked about that last week. The corporate part has really gone crazy. I wish that we have to have people selling, always do. But how much of our YouTube consumption now is about value, money, what makes money? I mean, Jeff Wilson was talking about too many Wimbys being graded. There's still prices so high because everybody wants one. And then I guess somebody called the silver Wimby the working man's rookie card. Hey, I would be more than happy to have one in my collection. I can't afford it's $1,000 according to Victor. But that's one of those players, I'm not a big basketball guy, but I'm not stupid either. Somebody wanted to give me one, I'll be like, yeah, thank you. I mean, you love to have greats in your collection of any sport. And he's probably going to be a great. I don't know. As tall as he is, I hope he doesn't have feet, knee, and ankle problems, hips. That seems to be something that happens to taller players, and he moves around so much. It's a lot of joints getting rattled, running up and down that court as tall as he is, doing the things that he does. That's my only worry with him. Have a short career because of that. But yeah, I mean, that's, basketball season started. College football, crazy weekend of college football. You had good games. You had people getting, I think Hall of Fame flagship cards will be popular again. They're the only ones everyone can afford. Amen, brother. Amen. And now we're getting to the age where the Hall of Famers are from their Hall of Fame rookie cards are in the 90s and 2000s, where you're going to have a bunch of different ones in different years or claim different rookie cards. So trying to figure out which one. That's why flagship for me is where it's at. Their first Topps flagship Major League Baseball card where they played in the majors for me. And that's where I'm at. The sooner Wemby develops a consistent mid-range jumper or mid-range, the better. Yeah, I don't know, Amari, but yeah, that's usually the range that right now that pros are hurting because they either can dunk it or they're going to shoot a 3-pointer. Anything in between is the trouble. That's why they're having so much trouble shooting free throws. But his height and everything. I hope he takes care of his joints, takes all the precautions and everything, ices, heats, whatever he's got to do. Because I could just, he has that body frame that a lot of those guys have problems with their lower joints, and I could see that coming for him. See, I went to the new Hank Aaron exhibit at the Atlanta History Center last Thursday. Enjoyed it. Awesome. Anything Hank Aaron, I'm for. Another great ambassador of the game, his family. Great ambassadors to the game, to life. Played at a time where people still, we got hate in this world now. That's another reason I have problems with the hate that he went through during that season. Nobody should go through that. And, he was too good of a man to have that happen. I got chills. I still get chills thinking about it, seeing his stuff at the Baseball Hall of Fame, which I need to get back to. I want to try to make that an every other year or every 3 years trip to a Mecca for me. Just to go back and see what new stuff and things like that they have. It's just amazing. And then at this first week after the season, the way it ended this year, the 5 games, the way the Dodgers did it, it kind of went, okay, it's over. It was like, I told people I thought it was going to be a historical season. Didn't know it was going to come from Freddie Freeman. But what a guy to have a season, have a World Series. Nobody deserves it more than Freddie Freeman. It's so overlooked when it comes to the players by superstardom. It's overlooked in our hobby so damn bad. Just, with stuff going on with his son, and they actually included baseball cards in the exhibit prompt. Oh, nice. I've always got my eye out for a rookie that's in my price range, and it's going to have to be probably 2 or below, and probably something like with back paper loss or something, where I like the front enough where I can afford it. That's one of those things I can only kick myself. 53, how long have I had a chance to purchase one of those? Probably the most consistent player of the past 10, 11 years. Okay. So, I just wanted to, at least talk about CGC. They got me my cards relatively quickly. I got hammered on the grading, but that's okay. I didn't I'll show you these. These are non-sports. I'll leave a link probably in my, community notes to my other channel, because I probably won't show it on this channel. But I really didn't like the way the chrome came out. And I love these. These are still my favorite cases. But this chrome lacking borders just didn't. I think it would have been better in SGC holder. These ones like this look like they're floating. That's an Assassin's Creed card, if anybody's wondering. I'm sure you're probably not wondering. I just wanted to show you the aesthetics of it. Like my buddy gets these done, and I think they are beautiful in that. I don't know why that chrome just didn't look like it's sitting in the thing very well. So I just sorry, I'm getting messages. I've invited people like I always do. We're just, if people can't come on, they can't come on. I know it's Monday night. I just like to get on and talk and clear my head. I knew I wanted to uh, apologize to the millions of CGC people that watch my channel. And I wanted my Ed, who's one I'm talking to, Wesker Griff, sent a message in our group chat today about, I know not everybody gets a chance to go to national, but I want to tie this into something else I've been talking about for 5 or 6 years. And I think it's starting to come ahead, but they're adding 75 vendors, new vendors to the show. So I think a lot of the new vendor, like people that want to be a vendor at the national. I don't know why this is all of a sudden a thing. They're going to add them upstairs into another hall at Chicago. It's way I think it is. They haven't. Last year's where the peasants, the non-VIP people, came down on the escalator. I think that's the hall they're talking about. And if they're smart, they would extend the VIP area upstairs on the other side, like the downstairs was in Cleveland. But I digress because not everybody can go to the national. But what is too big? What's too many shows? We got Ed coming on now, Mr. Wesker Griff, who can touch on a lot of things because I've used a lot of his language on here the last couple of weeks. How you doing, Wesker Griff?
Hey Scott, how you doing? This is a surprise episode to have it on a Monday.
Yeah, last night wasn't feeling well. I have personal things, I have diabetes, and I told I let everybody know that I do take medication for depression, anxiety, and sometimes it doesn't always work the way I want it to. It was not a good night for me last night. I was just tired, run down, and just took the night off. Sometimes you got to do that. In this world.
I understand. Now you're in your happy place, though.
That's right. I'm in my happy place. I was talking about the text you sent out today in the group chat about the 75 more vendors that they're adding to the national. Not so much that it's just the national, but when is too big for any show, right? I've heard, your Philly show had to move because it was just too cramped. When is too big?
Well, I mentioned it in my, if you remember back, I did the debunking video about the Cleveland National because there was a lot of misconceptions and just wrong information being said in a lot of videos about the Cleveland National. And the IX Center is bigger than the Donald Stevenson Convention Center. So it's going to be
Go ahead.
It's going to be smaller. We're in a more smaller space for the next 3 years, and they're added 75.
I was going to get to that. Yeah,
they're added 75 new dealers to that upper level where we were hanging out 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think that's the side though. If you remember, the non-VIP came down an escalator on that new portion that they have. I think that's because that's the exhibition hall where they do the Chicago Collectors Convention. They have two other shows in that place.
Correct. They were vague in the release that they did today, the national, though. They just said upstairs.
Well, they said Hall G.
Yeah, upstairs hall. So I'm assuming it's that incredibly long hallway with the secret bathroom where there's remember we were up there 2 years ago and I mentioned,
I don't think
there's so much space up here.
That's where they need to move the VIP, to tell you the truth.
Or the autographs. I feel like the autographs, if you take them off the floor.
Right. And we're going to talk about national next year, but I it just hit me today because I've been talking about this since I was in Iowa, at least 5 years. You know, I this now they're having 3 shows in Chicago for the national next 3 years. They have a spring and fall show there. It's called the Chicago Spectacular. It's the Chicago show. It's just like the Dallas show or the Philly show. Um, I just don't know because I mean I've already heard like this year when I went to Chantilly, I talked to I'm going to go ahead and call him Mike's vendor. Yeah, I think you know who I'm talking about. Um, I talked to him for a little bit. I talked to a couple other vendors, and they're basically saying the Chantilly show is the Philly show. It's a little bit different, a little bit more vintage at baseball at the Philly show, a little bit more hockey at the Chantilly show, and a little bit more like larger pieces. I was talking about that before. That's not really cards, like posters and helmets and stuff, but it's basically the same show. It's like a traveling show at that point. So people up north have no reason to come down here. I have a reason to go up. I want to see Reese and you and everybody else. But, you know, other than that, I mean, don't you think it's kind of taken away from each other when you have basically 6 shows within a couple hours of each other?
One of the things I brought up in the past is I don't like how the regional shows are losing their regional identity because you're seeing more like less of the local dealers in those specific areas
Mm-hmm.
do the shows. I've noticed that a lot with the Philly show over the last several years. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
the local dealers don't necessarily do the show anymore. Still a fantastic and incredible show because you get a lot of great dealers there, but they're more on the national presence. Like they do the Dallas show, they do the
Mm-hmm.
Burbank. They're all over the place. But a lot of these shows I have noticed, like Shriners, Chantilly, it seems like when people do showcase videos and they're going around, there's less of the regional area teams that you would normally see at those type of shows, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
it does. Because I'm going to Bobbles. One of my high points was talking to Brandon Bobbles and James Gilliam, everybody's friend. He doesn't have a channel, but he's in the chats a lot. A lot of people. Uh, I haven't seen them in a couple of years, so it's nice to see them and talk to them. And Bobbles brought up that it was hard for him to find Washington National stuff. And we're at Dulles, you could throw a rock to Washington where we were at. There was some cap stuff there, not a lot of Redskins / Washington football team / Commanders either. And you had one of the hottest rookie quarterbacks in Washington.
Probably
People,
rookie of the year.
most likely at this point, that kid, he's amazing. I'm getting a Commanders hat this week, I think. I am enjoying watching him. He's better than watching my Cowboys. But and also I love the coach at Washington. But anyway, you know, I see what you're exactly saying. It's more of a small national show where you know the one vendor I bought the Robert E. Lee, and I was sending you pictures of other historical figures. You know, he does 2 shows. He does Philly and Chantilly. He can't get him to the national. He's trying, so I'm hoping he gets one of these tables. I would like to hopefully talk to him at the Philly show before the national next year. Um,
Going back going back to the national, the one point I was trying to articulate
mhm.
is that with the national, it's been growing every year. There's a steady line of growth every year, attendance wise.
Yes.
So every year has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger than the previous years. We all thought 2021 was going to be the peak. It's only going to go down, but 2022 broke the overall record
Yep.
that was set in, I think, 1991 in Anaheim.
Right.
And then last year, there was apparently, allegedly, There was more, and it felt like there was more, and we were in a bigger venue.
It was out of control in the
So
parking lot. Yeah.
the rate of growth for the national, in my opinion, is going to be unsustainable going by the current venue that they're in, which is Rosemont, because they're there for the next 3 years. So if it continues on this growth cycle, now growth can always become stagnant or it can go down. But if it continues the trend that it's going towards, it's going to outgrow that convention center by either the second or third year that it's in Chicago. Because it's just not physically possible to have 200,000 people in that convention center. That's probably a fire hazard, and
Right.
it's just not feasible.
And I did notice this year in their floor plan that they moved everybody. When you go to the right is where most of the stuff's going to be at instead of going to the left. When you go into the main, if you understand what I'm saying, when you go in the main
Yeah.
doors, because on the right hand side, guess what worked over there? The air conditioning. So I don't think they have an air conditioning problem. I just don't think they have enough air conditioning for that many people.
Correct. And that's
Right.
also an internet and Wi-Fi issue.
Right. Yeah,
When
just
you
blocks everything there.
like they might normally have enough, but if you have 200,000 people in the area trying to use all that data, it doesn't matter. It's not going to work.
Bogs it down. That's what happened in Cleveland. If you remember the first day we were there, we really didn't have any problems. And then Friday, Saturday until Saturday afternoon, then it loosened up. And then Sunday, I didn't have any problems. But anyway, back to I don't care how many shows there are. I just want them to be good. I want people to be there for the right reasons. I did see a Chantilly at a lot of the Flipper Bros.
Well, they're everywhere.
Yeah, but they were having tables. There was a lot of tables for them. Was it Santiago Sports Card? I'm gonna call people out now. Santiago Sports Cards were there. I skipped this table totally. That type of people. A lot of gold necklaces, and I don't give a shit about them. They can go away. I don't care. But I want everybody to please go and see Victor's video from Sunday. He brought up Victor's a lot nicer than I am, especially when Jeff Wilson made a stupid comment. He didn't name the other person that made a stupid comment, but we know how Jeff is. He wants to create clicks, and that's what he's about. When it comes to that, but when you gotta to create clicks, and it's a little lull right now in the hobby, I think, and he's just trying to generate some drama. Maybe he wants to be president. I don't know. President of the hobby. I forgot tomorrow's election day.
Yeah, tomorrow is election day.
Yeah.
So get ready for the craziness.
Hey, let me tell you, the next president election comes around. If one person says, I will stop all the telephone calling crap, I'll vote for that person. That's the person I'd vote for. Stop calling me. I voted last Tuesday. I can't change anything now. But that's, I just, you brought it up. It might have even been before we went to the national. How corporate America, large corporations, it's no longer small corporations. These big conglomerates have taken over the hobby, and when that happens, it's a bottom line. And then Bobbles made a great quote, and I'm going to use it. Bobbles, if you're watching, I'm going to give you the credit for it every time. When Fanatics says they want to 10x the hobby, they're not talking about the hobby itself. They're talking about money generated in the hobby. It don't matter if they got to jack the prices up at the front end, back end, the side end, the back door, the front door, underneath. That's what they're going to do. And when he said that, it made a lot more sense to me, because I was asking him, how do you we were talking about pricing, how with them releasing the stuff so high, not even on a secondary market, where the second people that were flippers are complaining, how do you 10x the hobby that way? And he said that, and that made great sense. But, I digress. What do you got going on?
I mean, I always go back to the pandemic though, and that's like one of my original
It is.
theories on the overall hobby is that the pandemic was the single worst thing to ever happen in the history of the hobby.
Well, let's say, hold on. It was already, we were already in a boom. That's what made COVID boom the way it did, because it was already going up. It was already
Yeah,
making the news. It was already becoming cool and people coming out of their basement. It was mainstreaming already. So that's when people were like, well, shit, if I can make money and I'm going to sit at home, I might as well do this. But I get what you're saying. Yeah.
no, that's correct. The hobby was trending upwards, and like more people were getting back involved, more people were coming back. There was a couple really high sales, but the pandemic was kind of the atomic bomb
Yes.
that like really that's the big domino that fell that set a lot of things that we have now into motion and have changed things.
Right.
Because if you go back like that's why we talk a lot now pre-pandemic, post-pandemic in regards to the hobby, and look at all the changes that have happened post-pandemic in the hobby. Not many good ones, and I
No.
don't want to be negative, but just the corporate takeover. Tops is no longer Tops. They got bought out. I mean, just the huge corporate America takeover of everything hobby wise. And then, a lot of things are not collector friendly. You can't bust wax anymore. Break-ins going completely out of control. Vintage was at one point insanely expensive. How's that good for a collector if you want to buy certain cards? Like everything just got full blown tilt. And that's not even touching on the social media aspect of the
Right.
hobby.
Well, I know people don't, a lot of people in the hobby that watch on a hobby channel don't watch my Monday with my dad, but my dad said on that Monday show, because he went with me Saturday, because it was my birthday, so he wanted to go with me. And he said, he quoted you without knowing he was quoting you. He goes, I went to, I don't know how many table after table, seeing the same Mickey Mantle card, and every one of them was priced ridiculously high. It's not like you can't get that card. He goes, why is it so high? And I go, because it's still a demand for it, Dad. Demand is higher than what's out there. But you're right. It's not a rare card, is what you're saying. He goes, yeah, I could. He goes, if I had the money, I could have picked up 10 of them. And I mean, that's where we're at now. And I don't have a problem with any of that stuff. It's just, for us people that don't have millions of dollars or $100,000 to spend on stuff, or want to take the time to grind to flip to get bigger cards,
The perception isn't the reality.
right. Yeah.
Meaning, like, people, like, say your dad's a great example of this. Maybe he goes to the card show and he looks around and he sees all these insane prices on vintage cards, on players that he grew up watching.
Mm-hmm.
And he might think, man, maybe my son's a millionaire with all the cards he's got. You know what I mean? But
Right.
like, no, there's the bulk of the hobby has always been your person, your guy, your male, female collector collecting on a budget.
Right.
That's been the bread and butter of the hobby, not this, throw around mortgage money on
Well,
high end cards.
you go to a show and you can't get to the dollar boxes because there's so many people at the dollar boxes, not at the, and then you got the, yeah, you could go and look at everything else, but like you said, the bread and butter of this hobby is at the dollar boxes, the quarter boxes. What Mike does, Mike is a great friend to the hobbyist because he breaks so much product and he gets it to you at a reasonable price where he can just buy more product. You know, that's the people we need. We don't need people, we don't need breakers buying 500 cases of this stuff, even though we need the breakers, but they need to be reasonable as well. You know,
That's gone completely off the rails. The whole
yeah,
breaking scene,
the
off the
breaking,
rails.
yeah, that is the money generator right now, and we kind of need them to break stuff because I don't know who else is going to break some of this higher end stuff. And Mike was sharing with us what people were saying in his, you know, I meant to go look in his uh, chats below or whatever it's called. Uh, he, you know, people are saying what crap he was opening and stuff like that. And actually, Allen and Ginter this year is a beautiful card. Uh, you know, the T206s are always nice. They got the nighttime. They've added a few new backs. I'm trying to be like Mike Omari. Yeah, you need to contact me on where you're selling, you know, that stuff. Give me some of your, you can put it in the side chat if you're trying to sell stuff. Anybody, if you're trying to promote yourself, use my chat. I don't care. I don't care. I won't have you blocked or anything. If you're trying to promote something for yourself, just try to be reasonable. Don't spam, and don't I don't, it's got to be family friendly. That's all I ask. But it's an open door for you. I'm not an asshole. Um, so I
This
can't.
is why. This is why also, and it's a point you brought up earlier on the episode. Why there's just so many card shows now. Like, we're flooded with card shows, and that's the one thing since the pandemic that's actually really, really grown at a incredible rate is there's way more card shows now. And the reason, you know what I'm going to say
Yeah, and I'm
about
gonna
why
agree
there's
with
more card
you.
shows.
Mm-hmm.
There's more card shows now because the hobby is more geared towards people selling cards now than I feel like it's ever been. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's really kind of the culture of the hobby, so to speak, is
And the
to sell.
trading
Yeah,
cards too.
is
I mean,
yeah. But where else can you go anywhere in this country? Where else can you go and sell your cards and not leave a paper trail and get cold hard cash?
mm-hmm.
That's why, and that's a big reason why the National has seen the growth that it's seen, because people come from all over. That weekend for them is a selling weekend.
Yeah, 100%. 100, and you nailed it on the head. You know, once you, because I've said this before, be careful what you wish for. People want it mainstream, want to make it bigger, want to make more money. And guess what? It just brings more eyes. And the more eyes you have, the more problems you have. You got the IRS, you got taxes and all this other stuff. And like you said, if it's not traceable, it can't be, no, paper trail. You said it before last year, I thought, and I was like, I don't really, and I'm with you now. It took me a little while to get on that train, but after,
Because
especially
you just
Chantilly was a lot of business going across back and forth across the tables.
you just hear so much about it, though. It's just like you're bludgeoned to death about it when you watch recap videos of card shows and you hear, well, I sold this, I sold that. Here's some of my pickups. Oh, I went because I was mostly selling.
Mm-hmm.
Or then you actually go to said shows. You go to the National, you go to the Philly show, you go to Chantilly, and you see with your own eyes all the interactions. You're like, well, I'm seeing more people walk around with their briefcases and their Pelican cases selling cards, selling and they're selling everything. It's not one specific demographic. It's not, it's the teenagers with their modern cards. No, it's all ages.
Yeah,
It's the Gen Xers selling their vintage. They wised up. They don't want to get beat up on the junk wax. They learn their lessons. Then you got the kids with the shiny cards. And a lot of those kids, mind you, I saw them at Cleveland in the National. A lot of them in the trade room. They had the vintage. They
Yep.
didn't have the shiny. They had the vintage. Selling Jackie Robinson and Mickey Mantle. So you're just seeing a lot more. And I talked about this with you guys. I mean, in our private group chat. I just feel like that's the culture of the hobby now. And I understand it, but I try to tone it out a little bit because I don't begrudge anyone selling. That's a part of the hobby. We need these cards, but I just don't want that to dominate my hobby, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I also want to add too. It seems like that part of the hobby, especially when it comes to a certain group of the flipper bros. I'm going to coin that phrase. Uh, that it's a one-upmanship. They want to brag about how they got over on somebody or they got the better deal. Uh, you know, and that is their hobby. Where you know what I'm
They
saying?
always got to win.
Yeah,
They always
yeah.
got to win.
What's up, Paul? Yeah, and that's the part that's a little heartbreaking to me. Why? I mean, I'll give away cards. I don't. Yes, I want to make when I do that. I want to make a little bit of money. I sold a nice card today. Made a little bit of money today on eBay. It's I put a couple. I got like 50 cards now on eBay, so I'm
Little
growing.
money for a chicken sandwich.
That's right. That's right. And and that's fine. But I didn't sell it for what I wanted for it, and I'm happy that what I got for it. So there you have it. I feel like I sold a card, I got money. I only had I bought a box that the card came in. It was a Tatis short print Stadium Club, so I only had a few that graded PSA. Probably waited a year for it. So I probably got about $20 tied up into that one card, and so I did all right. I was happy with it. Hey guys, you see that they opened up 75? Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, Paul. Yeah, Paul. I stayed away from that, Paul, and I knew that Carlos was going to do that. Brian didn't know what he was going to get into, Carlos, and I felt bad for Brian to come into the Vipers pit on that one. I don't know if he's familiar with Carlos or not, but
Well, I guess he's familiar now.
yeah, I'm sure Carlos probably gave him nicely, but you know how, yeah. And I was shocked that Brian wanted to talk to him about it. I didn't understand what the reasoning was for it, but good for Carlos. I'm glad for Carlos. I feel like the 75 more tables. I'm happy that it's going to be some new blood, but it depends on what they are, who it is. If it's the same old, you already got 300 and 400 lost for Brian Gray, Paul. I'm hoping you talk about Brian. You and Carlos. I know you didn't lose respect for Carlos. If you had respect for but I'm happy to get new blood, right? But if it's the same tables that are downstairs, what is it, Matt? If it's more modern basketball, I maybe I'm taking that personally because I'm sure somebody will be happy with it. Yeah, no, Paul. That's yeah, that's what battery. That is what Carlos is good at. He'll give you the rope to allow you to hang yourself. He's a Carlos Law. He should be a debater or a lawyer or something. Yeah, he's really good at that.
I'll have to check that video out for sure.
I haven't watched it. He was live tonight before I got on with Brian. But
it's about the T206 Honus Wagner that was trimmed, correct?
Right. Yeah, he talked.
I mean, everyone knows that story, but I guess what was Brian Gray defend? defended.
So Brian had the
trimming?
guy on that sold it, knew about it. That
Yeah, Bill
went to
Mashler,
jail.
right?
Yeah,
One of the hobby boogeymen.
Yeah. So, and Brian was kind of like broing him. Really wasn't asking any hard. Was getting the story from like his side of the story, and that's it. And I think Carlos kind of on his Monday show with Brandon and Eric, kind of they laid into Brian a little bit.
See,
and
man,
I guess we got back to Brian.
I mean, I didn't watch the video, but judging by Paul's comments and some of the comments in the chat, it's just like, there's a lot of boogeymen in the hobby.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of boogeymen in the hobby.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of people who, in the pursuit of money, they'll do anything.
Right.
They'll cut your throat. They'll do anything.
When
they're vicious.
They think it's easy money, they're gonna, if they think they can get away with it.
Like even when that whole Kurt's Card Care thing was going on, and the whole soaking thing, soaking vintage cards and increasing the grade, there was newer people in the hobby who don't know all the shadiness that has gone on for decades.
And well, to them, they don't even know it's bad. They think it's okay.
I'm like, I can't believe this, but they're destroying cards. I'm like, you do know, like in the 80s and 90s, people were trimming, coloring. I mean, that was the whole point of grading. Dude, the whole point of grading.
My dad heard
to get an authentic card.
My dad watched one of them. He goes, "Son, we colored our cards when we were kids. We cut them. We did all kinds of shit to them to make them look better or whatever."
That's why in this hobby especially, you always got to do your homework, especially if you're making a bigger purchase.
Wow. Is this okay? Definitely got to watch it. I don't like Brian Gray anyway. I usually defend my fellow fat people, but he's just Jabba the Hutt. BG, I know Brian Gray. I know like two people that have never committed a hobby crime. Carlos, yeah, I've never knowingly sold a trim altered card. Thought to myself, yep, me too. Brian Gray acted surprised. So that tells you right there, Brian Gray is not above doing the same shit right there. Like he thinks if somebody does it, thinks everybody else is doing it when it's really not. It's a very small portion of people doing this bullshit.
Vintage flippers are ruthless, man. They're ruthless. That's all I'm going to say. I think the modern kids are bad. Holy shit.
Yeah, see, that's exactly right, Paul. No, Brian Gray, you're defending crime, and we got a question if you're a criminal now, too. And that's, well, this dude talks, the bullshit that used to come out of his mouth on that hobby hotline and anything else he can get on and listen to himself talk. Just because you got money doesn't make you smart. It just makes you cover up your losses and your defeats. I can't go out like he did and buy up every rookie Ryan Sandberg at every show for 6 months and go, look how smart I am. And he did that dumb shit. I don't, but he repacks them and sells them. So I won't even buy ungraded 71 tops. I have, and now I'm selling them all raw. Unless it's a Brave, yeah, because I'm working on that set very slowly, graded, because that was when I was born. That Paul, thank you for coming over and telling us about that. Everybody, you want to check out somebody probably getting on the skin of a slime ball. That'd be Carlos. And Carlos has no care.
By the way,
0 Fs.
I'm going to maybe switch gears a little bit on the conversation here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since Battery's here, and I know he's a Braves fan.
Yep.
Were you a little bit disappointed in the lack of videos talking about the World Series? Because it was a historic World Series.
It was a historic World Series, but since it was Freddie Freeman and not Ohtani or Judge or Soto or Stanton or or one of the Yamamoto throwing a no hitter or Cole. The biggest thing with Cole was they took him out too soon in the first game.
But there was the first ever walk-off grand slam in World Series history. So that's over 100 plus years. That's never happened, and it happened. Then you have Freddie Freeman, I believe, tying or breaking the record for most RBIs in a World Series. He tied. Okay.
He tied it in 5. The guy that set it in
7. Correct.
So I want those the vintage guys, the vintage bros, to come at me with, oh, they play more game. What he did in 5. So that
and then no team has ever blown a 5-run lead in a potential elimination / clinching game. No team has ever blown a 5-run lead ever in World Series history.
I just want to know, like, how much money somebody had and paid these guys off to have all those errors in that. And Judge just completely misplayed that ball. He took his eyes off of it. Then that play by, so Judge will probably win a Gold Glove this year. Volpe won a Gold Glove last year, might win one this year. Spikes the ball to Chisholm at third. Then after you have those, you're playing first. Rizzo wants to make sure A, he catches the ball, and B, he makes a good release to Cole covering, and then looks up and Cole's standing there pointing at first base.
I feel that play was more on Rizzo. I mean, I
don't. Rizzo was going to make sure he's going to field that ball, going to his right.
Well, he overran the ball.
Well, that's fine. He made sure he was going to catch it.
And the play was in front of him.
That's fine. But he still had to make a move to the right, being left-handed, and he wanted to make a good pitch. He wanted to get out of that inning with no runs. And the best play would have been to him, the pitcher covering, and the pitcher was standing there pointing. The pitcher did not cover the
I'm not going to excuse Cole. Cole should have definitely been over there. But I will say, in a World Series game, in a potential in an elimination game, for Anthony Rizzo to not attempt to run to the bag is inexcusable. That's inexcusable.
Okay, I think he was a little upset. You could tell by his mannerism that he was like, what the fuck?
Both of them were. Yeah. They had like an awkward exchange on the mound when they took out Cole.
Oh, they should have. So Battery's telling us that they had 39,681 cards for the Grand Slam for Freddie Freeman. I would like to compare that with some other ones. I know they sold more than that for the 50-50 card. But I'm happy for Freddie. I was ecstatic for Freddie. It was a World Series that I was scared that I was going to be like, I don't care. But Freddie doing what he did, what a great person he is.
He's up there with Lou Gehrig and Reggie Jackson now for one of the most dominant World Series performances ever.
Albert Pujols,
Babe Ruth as well. Throw him in there. Why not?
Yeah. Well, he had he had a World Series, but in Albert Pujols, the year the Cardinals played the Rangers.
David Freese too. Shout out to David Freese.
Yeah. I thought I was going to be more fired up to watch more Tommy Edman at bats.
But what I'm getting at here is there was 3 really historical things in that World Series. So it was a historic World Series. That was the first time ever there was that many MVPs in a World Series as well. You had 2 events happen that haven't happened ever in over 100 years, in 100 plus years. And in our neck of the community, not too many people talked about it, which doesn't make sense to me when for the last 2 weeks, I had to hear about, I collect this because of history, because of historical reasons. It just was driving me nuts.
Why
I'm
collect vintage?
For God's sake, man. Like, 2 things just happened that haven't happened in 100 years, and we're not even talking about it? What's going on here?
You're watching history. You're
Come
watching
on.
history. I've been
Watch
saying it
the
all
goddamn
year.
game. Watch
I'm
the
saying it all the
goddamn game.
time. You watch history now and you don't care because you don't watch the games. It's just
That's
that
just-
easy.
I was like, who watched? I mean, I don't know. I just thought the timing of that was.
I collect everything.
I'm like,
Mike,
fuck,
me, you,
man.
Mike, all these guys. We don't need reasons to reason I collect vintage is the same reason why I collect modern. It's baseball cards.
Like I thought after game 1, when Freddie hit the walk-off grand slam, I would see like about 8 to 9 videos in my feed about it. I didn't see
Right.
nothing. Nobody even mentioned it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm with
okay,
you now that you said that. Yeah.
they've been playing the World Series since 1909? Maybe I'm probably off on that. But we're over 100 plus years. 100 plus years. This has never happened. And we pride ourselves on the history.
Right.
And nobody talked about it. I'm like, that's a violation.
We talked about it at work. That's what even very casual fans are coming up to me asking me about Freddie Freeman and has anything like this ever happened? And I was like, not my recollection. So,
I guess the only reason we didn't hear about it is because people didn't invest in Freddie Freeman. That's the only thing I got. That's the only thing I got.
Because his rookie card is still, I don't know what it is now after that World Series, but was so criminally, he's like Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, even Pujols to a certain extent.
Then he did it on one leg. He didn't have an ankle. His ankle was busted. Then what? He had a broken finger or some shit like that. Come on, man.
They put him and Kirk Gibson together in that first game, and then he just went past that. Everyone was pissed at Ohtani didn't hit the slam. That's what matter. You're saying what I wanted to say, and I didn't. I don't know why I didn't, but yeah, people wanted Ohtani. Ohtani would have hit that, and that's all you would have heard about, right? I'm sorry. I've seen more of Saquon Barkley hurling a guy backwards than I have that grand slam hit.
Yes, you have.
So, they brought up Kirk Gibson and Freddie after game 1. He joked, "Hey, I played the entire game." Yeah. And I had to put it to my dad. My dad said they shouldn't have played him before the series started. They shouldn't play him. And I was like, Dad, you can't take that bat off the bench at least. But he's such a gap-to-gap hitter. He makes good contact. He don't strike out very often, which is incredible.
Way, maybe Carlisle can answer this. Was that the biggest mistake in Braves franchise history to let Freddie Freeman walk?
My dad answered that question today, and I knew what his answer was going to be. My answer is no, because they got Austin Riley, they got Olsen, they had club friendly deals with Acuna and Albies. Freddie's 35 now.
But they probably, this is a lot of what ifs. If they had Freeman against the Phillies, I have to give them the overwhelming edge, the Braves, because Freddie is a known Philly killer. He absolutely eviscerates the Phillies.
Yeah,
he's like our Chase Utley to the Mets.
And what happened was they won one with him there, so he kind of that. I think the lockout made the deal collapse. Communication became broken. I just think his age played a factor. I really did. They went younger. And they're going to pay for pitching. That's just the Braves. But yeah, I don't know if it's the biggest. But I brought that up because hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, Freeman fired his agent.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Like, how do you let a star player like that, like, just throw him the money, man? Throw him the money, lock him up.
Yeah, and he's Mr. Brave. I
Because
mean,
I said this when it happened in 2021. I'm like, he is the heart and soul
yeah,
of that Braves team. Like
you know he was the leader of that
he
team.
is the unquestioned leader. And I had all these Acuna investor bros try to tell me, no, it's Acuna's team. Freddie's just a cog in the machine. I'm like, no, Freddie's not a friggin' cog in the machine. He is the machine. He's the guy doing the shit in that for that
And
team.
how many years, Carlisle, did he lead the league in doubles? 5, 6 years? Because he's such a gap to gap hitter. Nobody realizes that. And I mean, he had always had high RBIs and he makes great contact. I mean, I just, and he plays a very high level first base.
Plus,
So,
he's super clutch. He's
yes.
just freaking clutch.
And he's a great guy in the clubhouse. He's a team player. And that's what those Dodgers did. They were team players. The Yankees were team players, I think. This was one of the best Yankee teams for being a team that I've seen in a while. And I think a lot of that had to do with some of the ads they made, like Jazz Chisholm and some of the other people. Even with those great I think Judge is such a humble guy. That helps too. And he just had to eat some pie because he sucked in the playoffs.
Oh, he was brutal.
Yeah, so um, but anyway, that was a tough one.
They
Um, I,
self-destructed in that last game. That was just, I mean, I know we have a lot of friends who are Yankee fans, so it's like
yeah,
real probably painful for them,
yes,
but they completely self-destructed and that
yeah.
there's no reason they should have lost that game. They just
And
completely
my whole
self-destructed.
thing was it kind of reminded me of the old Braves teams of the '90s. Like they won't take in it like it wasn't upsetting them. I don't know. Maybe I care. Like when I played ball, I you could tell when I was pissed. You could tell.
They were getting out hustled too, which
Yeah.
is crazy to me in a World Series game to get out hustled. Like Kike Hernandez was just beating guys.
Oh, they okay because Carlisle's down there in Atlanta. I don't know where Amari. I think you're in that area too. So everyone was astonished when it fell through, including the Braves and Freeman himself. Yeah, I remember when it happened. But you got to do what's best for yourself. It's a business. You're playing a game, but it's a business, and it's big business. So you got to do what's best for yourself. Uh,
It's a big business, but we need to get more people watching these games, man.
yeah,
These historic things happen, and people who collect baseball cards don't even talk about it. Come
I
on,
said
man.
it on my Monday shows with Dad. I pleaded with people, and I used your phrase. This is going to be a historic playoffs, and I knew you had two of the biggest historical baseball franchises. Outside of maybe you got the Giants and Cleveland and some of these other guys that have been around forever, but them two are two of the biggest ones in that group. That it's just historical right there. I mean, Dodgers, Yankees. It just doesn't goes back to Brooklyn and in New York. It's just that is baseball. If you don't like I hate those two teams, but it was such enjoyable to hear those two teams in the World Series because to me that's baseball. Would I like to hear the Mets? Of course, but uh, you know, those last four teams were historical teams. It was awesome to see. Mets not for longevity, but the Mets they wear orange and blue for the Dodgers and the
Well,
Giants.
you can hang your hat on the Mets played the Dodgers better than the Yankees did.
Yeah, yeah. I was happy with the Mets this year. This is one of those years where I always question people. You only play for one thing, but for me, the Mets get in the playoffs and actually playing the way they did with a lot of heart and integrity and never say die. They got a lot to build on, and I'm excited for next year. So
It was all because of Grimace and Hawk Tua.
I got my Grimace shirt still. So
Oh man, that
Paul says it was fair weather fans versus diehards. No one wanted to say they loved it for the fear of being fair weather. If you're a baseball guy and like to play, that's fine. People like an underdog story. Yeah, well, you had it in the both the divisional championship games. Read this today. More people watch this year's World Series in Japan than watch the NBA Finals in the USA. I believe that.
Japan watches the games, baby.
Yeah.
They care about history.
I just found out that there is a Japanese version of MLB The Show for the Japanese league.
That's pretty
I'm going to
cool.
get that something.
Trevor Bauer in that game?
Huh?
Trevor Bauer in that game?
No, I'm waiting to see if there is a Mexican one. I will be bringing up him in this offseason. I expected whoever won the National League would win the series. I just figured the Padres would win the National League. Yeah, they kind of failed at night. They still have clubhouse issues. I heard there was a lot of finger pointing and yelling and everything.
Man, I'm still pissed off about the Phillies.
Like if the Super Bowl is the Chiefs versus the Cowboys, that's the fan base for those teams. We're all rooting for the power to go out, so nobody can. Okay, Paul, I'm a Cowboys fan.
That's pretty funny.
Even though the Cowboys ain't going nowhere. So.
Oh yeah, you play the Eagles next week.
Yeah, I know.
What that game better not be close. I want a full curb stomping.
I want Rush to quarterback. But anyway, I'm going to end it there since it's Monday. Hey, Packers got haters too. I love it with you. Yeah. So thank y'all for coming out on this special Monday night, bearing with me. Check out Carlos. Check out Victor. That's some videos that I really would like people to check out this week. I don't watch as much as I used to because what we were talking about. It's too much value added. I'll check out Carlisle. He's got great production value as well as history of his cards and players. So everybody that's in this, check each other out. Yeah. And until next time, see ya.
See ya.